Finance and Investment Committee to order, and the first thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes from October the 4th. Do I have a motion?
I reviewed these minutes, and I would say Mark did a very professional job in typing them up and all, and so I moved for approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Before we get any further along, I want to mention we're going to try something a little different tonight. Normally, we call our roll when we're voting in the same order over and over, and we decided we're going to try something different. We're going to rotate it. So anyway, instead of having Rhonda Allen first every time, she gets to maybe be last or in the middle or wherever. We'll see how it works one time. You know, if we like it, we'll continue. If not, we'll throw it
No,
out.
we're going to like it. We're going to like it.
All right, well, the first thing then on the agenda would be the investment report from Mr. Beatty.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening. We had a couple of bids, but I would point to you that the LGIP, which again, I'll just remind you, is the basis for our banking relationship, and we get 26 basis points above that. But it was up 13 basis points, so it was at 210, so that puts our rate at 236. And then we had two bids. The first one, you can see, and we bid that at 6 months because rates are on the rise, and that just seemed like the better opportunity. There just wasn't enough difference between 6 months and a year. And then on the second bid, the one on the 16th, we bid that in the larger amount, and one of the banks only wanted half of it, and they produced a higher rate for the year, so we gave them half, and then went to the second bidder, and they were willing to keep the same bid to also take the other half. And so that's how we work that. We allow the banks to bid in whole or in part, and so that worked out. But we took the year on the better bid because it was significantly better. It felt like that was going to give us a better return. But when we dropped back, the next one seemed like 6 months was a better opportunity with rising rates. So we did part of it at a year and part of it at 6 months.
287 and 256.
287 and 256, yes, sir.
That's the rate that we're getting?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Of course, this is my first year on budget, so do we just bank hop every so often, or is it?
We have a bid. We have a bid process now. Our major banking relationship with Franklin Synergy, where we have our accounts, where all our checking, we rebid that every 4 years.
Gotcha.
So we do a formal bid procedure on that, and then we're able to bid out. Part of our contract, they understand, is that we'll bid out CDs or other instruments, and so we bid those. Yes, sir. We just bid those periodically. We have a list. We'll send out the prior week that we're going to have a bid, so all the banks know, and then the morning of, we email them out the bid form, and then it comes in by 11, and we take the best bid out of that group.
And it's basically in CDs.
It's in CD, yes, it's basically in CDs, in the CDARS program, but basically, yes, they're CDs. They're locked in. They work just like a certificate of deposit. So they're all guaranteed, all collateralized, so we have no risk of loss of principal, and then get a better return.
And Franklin Synergy, that's where we have our checking account?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, is that, I'm looking on this page here, it says 2.67, is that for a CD, or do we get interest on the checking?
That's for a CD. So
Okay.
they actually will bid also on our CDs above what's in our regular interest-bearing accounts.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll, depending on the interest, for a while, we only got 2 or 3 banks bidding for 4 or 5 years. You know, before these 06, 07, we were getting 5+%, and you know, a lot of banks bid. And then 08,
It's pitiful.
nobody bid, and you know, nobody needed the money because they could go to the Fed and get it for nothing. You know, they go to the Fed window. So now we're getting banks that are back interested. So we're bidding a little more regularly because there's interest. You know, because there's only so much demand that we can deal with. But yes, we do everything. We do everything by bid. You know, and sometimes we'll have a bank who says, you know, we have a need for your money. I never negotiate that with them, but I'll put that money out to bid. If they're interested in saying, we can pay more than you're getting, we'll put that out to a bid so everybody gets an opportunity at it. But because sometimes there'll just be a time when a bank has that need, so if they want to work with us on it, we'll put it out there. But I just say, we don't negotiate it. We just do it to bid. That way, everybody knows what we're doing, and that's worked very well for us. But we are flexible about what we bid out. If there's demand for the money, we try to fill it.
Okay, is there any more further questions? If not, I'll be open to a motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gooch. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Next in line is the fund condition report, and Lisa will present that to us.
Okay, we'll start with the development tax. In October, we received $347,250, which brings our year-to-date total to $2,359,500. Our cash balances for the end of October totaled $277,381,000, with $198,102,000 being operating funds, $79,279,000 being borrowed funds. There's no questions there. We'll move on to our revenue review. While we close out at October, we're really talking about 3 months of revenue at this point, and the comparison for each of the funds are equal to or exceed the prior 5 years. So that just lets us know that we are on track. Our revenues are coming in as expected or better. On the first page, I'll show you how the roll is being collected, since the large majority of the general fund is property tax. At this point, we have collected 5.53% of the current property tax, and you can see on the other years we are in line with that as well, maybe slightly better than last year. So at this point, I really don't have anything, any concerns or anything to bring to your attention.
Any questions from the committee? If not, we'll see if we've got a motion out there.
I'll make the motion that we approve her report.
Got a motion from Commissioner Stevens.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Piercy. And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, risk management. This is Melissa Street. Welcome.
Okay, so we're looking at results as of the month of end of October. If you look at the first page on the report, it shows you a difference in revenue and expenses, and you can see that currently the difference by a month is $147,523. So that's good. That means we've about matched on both revenue and expenses. Continue to the second page of the report, you'll see that from a calendar period perspective, the current revenue came in at $61.5 million compared to prior period of $54.2 million, with current expenses being $57.2 million, with prior period coming in at $56.9 million. And for the new commissioners at the table, we reflect it in both calendar period, because that's the way I like to see it from a benefits management perspective, and the rest of the world likes to look at it from a fiscal perspective, so that's why we show it both ways. So when we look at the fiscal period, you'll see that for current revenue, we are at $17.1 million compared to prior period of $15.3, and in the current year, our expenses are $24.1 million compared to $22.6 in prior period. The last page of the report is intended to just show you in more details on a running basis where we are in both the calendar year and fiscal year. And so it will also show you the prior period of review, so that if you want to look as an example to see what revenue was in a specific month, then you can look back on this page and see that. So looking at this report, you'll see that for 2018 on the calendar year revenue versus expenses, we're currently trending well with expenses down below revenue to $4.3 million. When you look at it from a fiscal year comparison, In our current year, you'll see that we are currently in the negative of $7 million. And I did look back at 2017. It's pretty consistent. Our expenses are up currently, but our revenue is as well. And so we will see increased claims throughout the end of the year as people have time off and they wait till the end of the year to utilize those benefits. And we'll see it begin to level back out after the end of the year. So this is pretty common for our trend. Our medical enrollment is currently at 6,035 employees with a year-to-date average of 5,974. And we did just finish open enrollment on Monday, so I'll be able to report on that at the next committee meeting as well and let you see what participation looked like.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Street? If not, we'll entertain a motion. We're all ready.
We got more
Oh, I'm
reports.
sorry.
Yeah. So on Fund 266, if you'll look at year-to-date, we are at $315,911 compared to prior year of $400,106. The last report that I'll provide to you shows a comparison of expenses we have incurred for legal, for all of our expenses, regardless of what firm is used, any fees that we paid, other expenses associated, and then what that looks like in terms of specific to Hudson Region McCreary. So if you look at the month of October, our total legal expenses came in at $17,446, where that portion for Hudson Region McCreary came in at $9,513.
I thought that was a year, 2 years difference.
It is, I apologize. On my spreadsheet, that's right. I didn't bring the data, so you are correct. That's 2 years difference. That's that's last year to year to date.
I have one question. Is the insurance increase going to alleviate some of the bleeding, so to speak, in January?
So, right.
Close one thing.
You understand the question. So we do set rates early in the year, since we will set those in the March-April timeframe, and I will have those revalidated in August of every year, and it shows that the increases should cover expected claims for next year.
Now, we're ready for that motion. If
Motion to.
Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
All right. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying yes.
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 And any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. General Fund budget amendment for building codes, Ms. Bell.
Good evening. How you all doing? I have brought before you a contract along with a budget amendment for building codes as a result of Gary Farley with the State Farm Marshal's Office approached myself and Mary Catherine about a month or so ago and asked us if we would be agreeable to begin to issue electrical permits on behalf of the state of Tennessee. And for those of you who don't know, building codes issues all building permits in Rutherford County with the exception of electrical permits. That's the only permit we do not issue, nor do we do the inspections on it. They have an issue agent that's in an office in the back of our building that offers electrical permits Monday through Thursday, 8 to noon. So we would offer those permits Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. In return, we would keep $5 from each permit issued for revenue for the county, which equates to, on the average, I went back 5 years, and on average, it's about $24,000 a year. The budget amendment that's associated with this contract is for a part-time employee that we would like to hire to help, an admin position to help pick up some of the tasks that the current permit techs do while they were picking up the additional issuing the electrical permits, such as answering the telephone and some data entry and some filing and scheduling inspections, stuff like that. And I would like to add too that you know, if permits do go down or we do see a reduction in permits, I would cut back the hours of that part-time employee. So this part-time employee wouldn't cost the county any money. We should make enough money, we should have enough revenue to cover, more than cover, a part-time employee.
Are we going to do the inspections as well?
We are not going to do the inspection, just strictly issuing the permit.
You said it was about 24,000, but how many, how many permits would it have been last year?
In 2000, they gave me their numbers in calendar years, so last year, 2017, they issued 4,988 permits for revenue of 24,940. This year, in 2018, as of 9/24, they'd already issued almost 4,500 permits for 22,350.
Mr. Chairman, question. The $5 additional, is that going to be attached to the permit fee?
It would,
Okay, that'll make, okay.
right, so
Pay for it.
they will pay that, we will retain it, and then we distribute the rest of it at the end of the month to the state.
And this 16,390, is that the cost of a part-timer?
It is 29 hours or less for an admin position.
Actually, on a weekly basis, we'll have to remit that,
Okay.
according to the contract.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So we will remit it to the state on a weekly basis according to what the contract had.
Oh, the funds, they did say that that was negotiable, because
Okay.
we had discussed maybe doing it on a monthly. They said monthly probably wasn't possible, but possibly bi-weekly. Okay.
Well, previously, the permit, the lady that was issuing the permits down there when I was there 105 years ago, she got a percentage of that or something.
She got the same $5.
Did she get the $5? I knew that too.
It's a
That's
flat,
what- yeah.
right, it's a flat fee that all the issue agents get across the state.
How much is the budget?
They're $35 for each permit, and there's probably 6, possibly 7 different permits, and I apologize for not knowing
That's
that,
okay.
but
That's
6 or 7 different
And
permits
it-
that's due throughout the construction, the duration of construction on the project.
Do we need to read this motion here? For
I
resolution?
mean, it's really just do it exactly what she said, it just puts it formally.
That certainly sits well with me, because I don't care to be reading it. But, I mean, that's right here in front of all of us.
You'll get to do that. You'll get to do that next
Yeah, we'll get to do that next week, so.
Motion to approve this resolution right there, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay, we have a die number, second. All right, we have a motion and a second, and we're gonna have to call roll on this one, I believe.
Commissioner Dodd? Yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes,
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
okay.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know they will.
Okay,
In every
general-
other meeting I'm in.
Okay, general fund budget transfer for county buildings has been in. If not, Lisa will take
Okay,
care of
I'll
that
take
for
care
us.
of it. This is a request to transfer $14,000 from his equipment, maintenance equipment, to motor vehicles to be able to purchase a second truck.
Did we anticipate the need for another truck, or?
I will say that during the budget process, he requested 2, and it got cut to 1. But as he was pricing the truck, he said down here that the truck had been reduced below the state bid price because of reduced things, the features that were on the truck, and so it's made it a little bit more palatable to go through and get the second one.
So do we know if maintenance, what's left in maintenance is gonna get us through the rest of the year? Is the $6,000 gonna?
I think he feels like he's probably willing to give up some equipment to get the truck.
So basically, you're going to be leaving some maintenance equipment on the back burner.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner. Motion to approve. Commissioner Johnson?
Second.
Commissioner Gooch? Okay, we'll also call roll on this one. there are no more questions.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
That sounds like the same order. I thought it was
Each meeting.
I don't think he's got that many pieces of paper printed out differently.
You're not gonna do each vote, it's each meeting.
Each meeting.
He could read it bottom to top.
Okay. Let's see, next in line here is the Board of Education Building Program, Mr. Sandy.
Good evening. I don't know if all of y'all know, Trey Lee is Gary Clardy's replacement.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Trey's been there a long time. How many years?
12.
Yeah. So he's been in training for this position for a while. He's not new to the gig.
So I brought him along since we've got a building program amendment. Okay. This amendment cleans up line items within existing projects, the yellow columns. And
They're in here. It's about the third
Yeah.
page. It's your third page.
Okay. And moves from funds from completed or nearly completed projects to other projects. Those are in the blue columns. No new funds are being requested. Line item amendments within projects. We're not increasing the money for these projects, just moving already budgeted funds around. Oakland Middle Annex, $2,090,825. Rocky Fork Elementary, $690,804. The David Urey Edition, $29,820. Smyrna Middle renovation, $159,095. Rockvale High School, $7,055,919. The Siegel High Edition, $323,000. And the Eagleville new Highway 99 entry, $9,700. Total of $15,359,163. The large amendments primarily move already budgeted construction dollars to site development. When a new project is approved, the construction dollars include both the construction contract and site development. The amount to charge for site development is uncertain until the contract has been awarded, and we've worked with the architect and the contractor. We combine these two pieces initially and amend them out when we have a good idea of the amount. We don't pay property tax, we don't pay property and casualty insurance on site development pieces. It's one of the reasons we carve them out. So we've got probably $13 million that if we reported, we would have to make a case, and we'd probably have it included in our property taxes if we charged construction. Furniture, fixtures, equipment.
Not property tax, but insurance.
Insurance, yes, insurance.
Insurance on
Yeah.
coverage of the building.
Yeah, so, but we routinely bring this in. We used to separate it out, and the number would swing so much that we were just amending all the time. So we wait and try to amend 2 or 3 times in the life cycle of the project. The existing funds being from completed projects being moved to other funds. Rocky Fork Middle, $505,816. The David Urey renovation, $59,198. The Smyrna Middle renovation, $70,474 for a total of $635,488. The funds receiving these existing funds, Rocky Fork Elementary, $287,333. The Siegel High Edition, $11,419. The Rock Springs Elementary Edition, $10,944. And new, but not just, this is basically parking the money, new secondary project, $325,792. Total $635,488.
And will you let them know why you identified it as a secondary?
Yes. We share K-6 funds that we borrow with the city of Murfreesboro, about 15% of what we borrow. So when we borrowed for Rocky Fork Elementary School, the city of Murfreesboro got about 15% of the amount we borrowed. When we borrow for a middle school, we're dealing with Rocky Fork middle money. 6th grade, so 1/3 is shared, 2/3 are unshared. We are very careful in our amendments to put K-6 money to K-6 projects and 7-12 money to cover that 7th, 8th grade portion of the middle school and our high schools. So the 287,000, most of that is coming from it is elementary 6th grade money in the Rocky Fork Middle School project. But this new, we park it. If you look on Teresa's report, which I believe you all get, and
This group doesn't see
This
it.
group doesn't see
oh,
that.
okay. At Health and Ed, the building,
Special projects.
yeah, the special projects report. It shows we will have different captions for elementary and middle. Money we move, we've had some years recently where we've been able to move quite a bit from our ending fund balance to the building program. That is already shared money. So that we do it to optimize our use of shared funds.
Exactly.
Okay. At Rocky Fork Elementary, we have had to issue a change order. The initial approval was up to 1.3 million due to adverse soil conditions. It wound up coming in at $1,179,381. And we would have faced this change order regardless of which contractor received the bid. The R.J. Anderson bid, which was awarded, was $1,780,000 under our low bidder. But even if it had gone to another bidder, we would have faced this
incurred
issue.
this cost.
Yeah. That is why we are proposing to move the $287,333 from Rocky Fork Middle to cover part of this cost. It's still early in the project, but we're hoping to cover much of the cost of this additional cost. Much of it. I don't know if we can cover all of it within the existing project, but that is our hope, as much as we possibly can.
Savings within the project or?
Within the project is our hope. We'll see how things go. It's too early to say. That we'll save the entire amount is pretty optimistic. So. But since we had some elementary money, that's why we brought it forward, using it that way. Our recommended motion is to amend. I've been working on the budget all day. I'm kind of tongue-tied and brain dead. $15,359,163 in line item adjustments within already budgeted construction projects to amend $505,816 from Rocky Fork Middle School project, $59,198 from the David Urey addition, and $70,474 from the Smyrna Middle addition to the following projects for that total of $635,488 as presented. And do you want me to read the projects?
Please go ahead
Okay.
and read it. Well, you don't have to go with the money amount. I think that's it right there in front of them, just so people know.
Okay.
That just the schools.
Just the schools, okay. Rocky Fork Elementary, the Siegel High Edition, Rock Springs Elementary Edition, and the new secondary project, as whenever that gets. We will, when we're bringing forward new projects, we'll
Transfer that in.
transfer, yeah. So, any questions?
I have a question. The $7,055,919 from Rockville High School, that's the new high school that they're on.
Yes, sir.
You saying that you're gonna be saving $7 million?
No, sir, this is just moving money from the construction, separating the site development pieces from the construction.
It's really an accounting.
It's really an accounting. Okay. Yeah.
My question is, you will be coming back and asking for $7 more million?
No, sir, no, this is just internally within the project, cleaning up line items. We do this 2 to 3 times, probably 3 times or more in a high school project over the life of when we do a building or an addition.
And then on the adverse soil conditions, you guys did a good job the other night explaining and helping in
Mr. Lee is here.
what that was. So can you share with this group what you encountered?
Yes, yes, ma'am. When you begin your preliminary, what we call our exploratory before you buy a piece of property, or once you've bought it, we go in and you take a tractor drill and you drill holes in the ground trying to foresee what's underneath what you can't see, what's underground. And when the Rocky Fork project started, the elementary was on the east side and the middle school was on the west. Then it was determined that we needed to build the middle school first, so we swapped the schools, their location on the site. We swapped the elementary with the middle because we didn't want to develop a whole site at one time. We wanted to just develop the first half. There was no reason to build the roads, put in the water for the second half till we were ready to build. In that same time frame, it was determined, the borings were done based on the original footprints of the building. So then it was decided to go from a one-story building to a two-story building, which changes the footprint again. We did not go back and rebore underneath the ground. We felt like we had enough borings to justify our design. There was a seam of bad material underneath the ground, and that seam just happened by Murphy's Law to extend right underneath the footprint of where this new building went. Had we known that, this 1.7 million would have been in all of the contractor's bid. But because we didn't know it was there, and when we started excavating for the foundations, we found this bad seam. So we had to basically take out over 25,000 cubic yards of bad material, remove it from the site, and bring in 25,000 cubic yards of good material to make the foundation for the building. So we would have encountered the problem, we would have just known it on the front end, and it would have been in the bid. The bids came in low enough, we're still under budget. The overall budget that was approved, we're going to do everything we can to save as much as we can. But it was encountered, and it was a large number.
And you said going forward, we're going to drill more?
Yes.
to
Going
this?
forward, should the design change or we move things, we're going to spend the money to go back and drill the new footprint so we don't have this come up again. As you know, this is the first time in my 30 years of construction that I've ever had this problem encountered. You do have small pockets periodically on all projects that are bad material. They can be handled by what's already in the project. This was just, so we learned a lesson. So we'll do things a little bit differently in the future.
And we are, the parcels of land that we're looking at, last spring, the commission approved up to 10 million for 3 parcels of land for future schools. We are doing more tests, more types of tests and all of those pieces of property. Yeah, we learned something from this. So.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, the next thing up is Mr. Trey King has an amendment to a agreement with MTSU. Welcome, Mr. King.
Good evening. How's everyone? My amendments are probably different than anyone else's here. I'm actually asking you to reduce my budget a little bit, so I'm giving you money back. This is to reduce a contract that we have with MTSU for our data analysis for our SAMHSA grant. Just the way it fell our first year in implementing this grant, we overestimated the cost that MTSU would need to provide its services, so I'm asking to reduce that grant amount for the fiscal year 18 by $5,970.56.
What is that acronym?
SAMHSA is the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. It's our federal grant that we receive for drug court.
Motion to approve is presented.
Have a motion from Ms. Allen,
Second.
Commissioner Gooch. Any other discussion or questions? There being none, call roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mr. King, feel free to come back with more of those anytime you.
I will try, sir. Yes, sir. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a great evening.
Okay, the ambulance service fund budget amendment.
Hi, I'm filling in for Mike tonight.
Okay.
He's recruited me. Actually, we have what this is about is putting money into the budget also. If I remember correctly, it's $7,000 from Stonecrest and $7,000 from St. Thomas Rutherford. And this money is provided by the hospitals to go into the scholarship program. We have it's called HEART program, and it's where the monies go in to help train and educate paraprofessionals so that they can be, better use to the citizens in the county. And so the hospitals have agreed to give back so that we could pay that for the people who otherwise might not could have afforded it. So that's all it is.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Commissioner Dodd, second. Any other discussion? There being none, go ahead and call roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The highway fund budget amendment, Mr. Greg Brooks. Welcome, Mr. Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. Things are going real smooth, Greg.
I will try to maintain that flow. What I have for you tonight is two budget amendments, the first of which is for a road tractor, transfer truck, if you will, 18-wheeler. This is something that I built into our Public Works budget. However, it came in at more than I thought it was going to be. So I need to move some money from their fund, from the Public Works fund balance, to cover the difference. So requesting decrease fund balance by $35,000 and increase our expenditures on our equipment, other equipment, by $35,000.
This committee, you got another amendment, is that it?
I have another one. I didn't know if you want to do them both.
You want to continue,
Take
or
them
we'll leave that up to?
independently.
Let's do them combined.
Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. Moving on. The next one is for a pay increase for all of our employees there at the Highway Department. It is what amounts to a 50-cent pay increase, and it will begin January the 1st. And while it is a reoccurring expense this year, the half a year that will be the remaining half year that the increase would affect, we want to get out of our Highway Department fund balance and move it into the appropriate line items to cover the pay and the benefits that go along with it.
How many employees does this affect?
60, well, there's 67. Actually, we only have 66 employees currently, but it's built for 67 employees.
This was presented to the Highway Department Board Monday. It passed unanimously, and with $13 million ending fund balance, I don't think we'd have any problem with it. I'll make a motion to approve both these budget requests.
Motion, Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Dodd. Is there any other questions? There being none, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay, now we're ready for the annual report of fixed assets. Mr. Brown. Welcome.
Thank you. This year, I'm pleased to present you the Rutherford County Inventory Control's annual report for fiscal year period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. For this fiscal year, we have continued to inventory schools and departments with less than 100% accountability of assets, many of which had not been inventoried last year. This year's inventory results were very encouraging. Overall, schools and county departments had a median percentage of 99.16. Most fell in between 97 and 100%. However, 9 schools and 10 county general departments achieved 100% accountability. Missing assets were down for the 8th year in a row, which there weren't any this year. That's y'all's favorite page.
We're disappointed this year.
The capital asset account totals are $1.17 billion with $315 million in accumulated depreciation for a total of $855 million in net capital assets. Our office has also been working to continue to sell surplus on the internet. Currently, our vendor is GovDeals, which has shown excellent results in achieving high final bid price. The report is as follows. The financial schedule will start on page 5. Page 5 is the county general schedule of changes, and this is by asset type. The same report for schools, the schedule of changes is on page 6, which is by asset type. And then we have the changes by function and activity on page 7. The inventory review results are on page 9. The missing assets start on page 10, and there are none, page 11. And then we have our appendix, which gives us our general fixed assets policies and procedures that we follow. And page 17 is the list of thresholds for capitalization. Page 18 gives you the list of the personnel in the fixed asset department that worked this year. That's all I have for you.
On page 9, you've got the inventory review results. And the asterisk, you have an asterisk beside several, and the footnote at the bottom says assets not found in the second inventory cycle are classified as missing and noted in the missing section of the report.
It's really will be noted if there was any.
Okay, so if something's less than 100% there, how is it not missing?
It's the second time it's missing.
Okay.
That it becomes missing. The first time we go out there and say
So this is
the
preliminary.
cameras.
This is your first inventory.
This would be the first inventory of the go-round. Or it could be the second inventory, but they found what was missing the first time before we came back the second time. Like there was...
So do you have a second time scheduled, or?
When it cycles back around, we go back out, and if it's missing the second time, it's taken off the books as missing.
Okay.
But the first time you go, it's missing, it's called remaining. So it's remaining, it's a remaining asset that we're gonna look for the second time. So that gives them time to find it before the second time. It could have been in the teacher's drawer, and they found it before we came back the second time, so it never got counted as missing. It was just remaining the first time.
I'm just looking at like circuit court, it's at 93%. So that just seems like so I mean, it could be maybe things got lost in the move, or I don't know.
You would have done that before the move.
That was before the move.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the cycle like? When would that come back around? And do you have? I mean, I'm sure you know what you're looking for, so you know what's missing, so they know what to be looking for. They know
provides them a letter.
We send a letter with what's missing to them after the inventory is tabulated.
Okay.
They know this is missing. Maybe we'll find it before next time. We give them like after we go out and something, we don't find it the first time, we send them a letter of what's missing. They have 3 weeks to find it and tell us where they found it, and then we would not count that against them.
Okay.
If they don't find it, then the final letter goes out with their 93% or whatever they had, and what assets were still missing after they did their second search. Once they search for it, then it may come up the next year. It's like a every other year cycle.
Okay.
You're doing different ones every year. So we won't go back to this one this year. We'll go back the year after next. And then if it's missing that second time, it's considered missing.
So on the missing, you're talking, and I just want to make sure I'm following. On the, when something's 100% there, it's, if there were 10 pencils, it's 100% of the 10 pencils.
Yes.
It's not, has nothing to do with the value of the item that's missing. So
No.
it's not 100% of the value of what is
Right.
in that department.
Right. It's the
not
number of assets.
the actual physical number. So if there was something that was of major value that was missing, you would throw up red flags and everybody would be looking for it, correct? Okay.
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to make sure.
Correct.
And it's interesting how sometimes they do show up, and sometimes with schools, they show up in other schools.
Yeah. They transfer stuff. and don't
Yeah, I
tell
remember
us.
there was one time there was something big. It was like, we're like, how do you walk out with
The
it was
Yeah,
a refrigerator.
Yeah, it was
The
yeah.
refrigerator.
Yeah.
You might tell them what happened to the refrigerator.
The refrigerator was found, but they had turned the refrigerator around. Somebody took the tag off of the front of the refrigerator for the asset tag, and it was on the back of the refrigerator, which was up against the wall. And the serial number's on the back, so we couldn't check it by the serial number because it was on the back and the tag was on the back. But somebody from the food service department at the school board, after everybody was looking for it, they went out there and found it.
Did they move? They moved the refrigerator or something,
They moved it away from the wall.
and it was found.
Yeah, I just remember us joking about the fact that it was like, how do you lose that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, are there any other questions? I don't believe we need to call roll on this one.
Motion to approve the report.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. All right, that's Stevens, Commissioner Stevens. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. FEMA buyout grant. Mike, Matt?
Evening, Commissioners. I apologize for the late submittal here, but I actually have a handout here for you guys to look through, and I'll try to pass these up to you quickly.
Who's got pens?
A little bit. Try to. For y'all who don't know me, I think most of y'all are familiar with me. I'm Matthew Basic. I'm the public works engineer and work for Greg Brooks and Mike Hughes. So our engineering department is pursuing a grant opportunity through FEMA to try to purchase some repetitive flooding structures. We were notified about it back in October and have since trying to move forward. We had a pre-application deadline on October 31st and submitted the following two separate grants for their consideration, just as a, hey, we're looking to pursue funds. There's a hard deadline for December, and so I'm here tonight to ask that we continue to have permission to move forward to look at these and to also provide an update. So initially, I requested from FEMA 10 different properties to be considered, sent mailers out to those individuals, and I've only heard back from 4 property owners. All 4 of those property owners were, I received your letter today and I'm calling you. So that was middle of last week. So I don't know if I'll get any more responses But I have updated it as if those were the only 4, but still asking for the full 10. And if they don't respond quick enough, being that December 1st deadline, then we will not ask for a grant opportunity for anybody who has not responded. And then I included the 4 properties who have actually responded, and I have imagery from 2010 of those properties, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are the 4 split into 2 categories, or are they, if you happen to fall within?
If you flip to the second page, that one right behind it, kind of updates it there. So 3 of them are the hazard grant mitigation program, and 1 is the flood mitigation assistance program.
What is hazard versus, I mean, flood is self-explanatory. What is the hazard?
I'll start with the flood mitigation assistance. Those were ones that were identified as TEMA, as they had a whole bunch of insurance claims and they recommended those be used through this program. And then the hazard grant mitigation program were ones that they said that were ones that they asked for our suggestion on, so that maybe they hadn't had quite as many claims for whatever reason. So those are ones that more like I've had hands-on experience with and knew that they...
High risk?
Yes, I've been out to their property and looked at it before and know that they've had previous issues and had even previous conversations where they, because this isn't a new program, they were saying an opportunity like this ever comes up, keep me in mind. So I requested 7, and Congress, surprised I only heard back from 3 of them, but that is what it is.
So basically, they sell their land back to the county?
Correct. So if we hear back from FEMA that we have been awarded a grant, then at that time an appraiser is hired, an appraiser goes out, assesses the value of the property, and they can back out to any point up to the closing of the property owner. So they are not committed to this until they literally sign all the paperwork to sell the home to the county. At that time, we would go in, demolish the home, and the property would remain as county property and undevelopable. So it just stay as property that...
Green space, yeah.
Correct.
So that was where I was going to ask. If, let's just say all these people apply for the grant money, we get it. What's the county going to do with these 10 parcels of property?
So it would be like, we have some of these properties already. If the area is not in a subdivision and there's no danger of a tree falling on a structure or fence or something on an adjacent property, we would let that property go and maintain the front with bush hogging. That would be like the highway department, so like Public Works would do that. And then for the ones that are actually in a subdivision, we go out with our Public Works program, and it's a recurring maintenance cost, most of the time, where we go out and we bush hog those once to twice a year. In other words, we're just trying to prevent major growth so that it's not a nuisance to the neighborhood, and you don't have a tree that comes up and falls on a neighboring property, something of that nature.
Well, on that, for example, if you're in a, like, on this page, you got a parcel that it looks like it's in a subdivision.
It is.
And we're only going to mow twice.
On that one, we probably, in all honesty, and Greg would have final say on that, we'd probably let that one go as far as maintaining it. If you look around it, there's 5 parcels there that have not been developed. And that is because those 5 parcels are all sinkholes, and way back when someone decided it was a good idea that, hey, if I get right in the middle of those 2 sinkholes, I'll be okay.
Okay, so let's go to the next page.
Yes, sir.
That one.
Yes, sir.
How many times will we mow that?
Typically it'd be 2. I think there's one that we do in Deerfield that's set up through the maintenance department, Ben Aiken's office, in which they mow monthly. So if it is something that would require more attention, I think.
Like that close to that house?
Correct.
Obviously it'd be once a month at least.
Right.
As far as the summertime.
Correct. And that can be adjusted as needed.
Thank you.
We're spending $186,000 plus the bush hogging yearly.
The maintenance cost that would be covered.
What are we saving? Why is this worth it? Why is this investment worth it? What do you spend now as a result of the floods?
The thought process for FEMA is that tax dollars are being spent on an 80%, 20% split. So tax revenue is being spent for reoccurring repetitive loss and other insurance claims. And their thought process is to try to be more active and take those repetitive losses off of their books so that they don't keep getting the same, hey, we just spent $30,000 to fix all this, it's been 4 years and it flooded again, now we won't go do it again. So to try to put a dollar value on it, Bill, I really couldn't, I'd be hard pressed to put a dollar value on it. But the thought process for FEMA is they're trying to eliminate these reoccurring costs.
Does the county have expenses when there's a flood? Do we go out and mitigate, or do we respond?
Correct. So, for instance, on some of these, like where your driveway access, if that person needs to get out and it's flooded and they have an emergency, it's emergency response has to go out, help them. It's that situation where our county entities that go out and provide those first responders, emergency response, those type of responders are saved the hassle, so to speak, to have to go out and help someone in this situation.
Okay.
And that probably could be said better, but that's,
So these haven't been occurrences that cost us, but they could.
I guess it's an indirect cost. It's a cost of time of sending personnel to that property to help with that. As far as repairing the structure or something of that nature goes through insurance claims and wouldn't go through the county.
Does Chief Farley and Mike Nunley, those guys support this?
I have not talked to Chief Farley about
I'd
this.
just be curious if it would save them a potential call.
Well, if it floods out, then we have to send swift water guys in there to get the people out and bring them to the flood waters.
This was approved with the highway department also, and this is kind of a stopgap measure. And you and Trey were on when we were involved with some of the litigation in the flooding out in that area. So this was approved by the highway department.
And this came out of Public Works also.
That's Public Works, which less than a penny of the property tax rate goes to the operating Public Works department.
Right.
So FEMA wants the county to spend $370,000 if we get approved for all 10 of them to buy 10 pieces of property that we can't use.
Correct.
That we have to maintain and care for it so they don't have to pay out insurance claims.
Correct.
I just can't see spending $370,000 on a piece of property we'll never be able to sell. I mean, nobody's going to buy it. It's in a floodplain.
I understand your statement, but if you look at some of the imagery on there, that they shouldn't have houses on them as they are. I mean, these aren't ones that, this is nuisance water where PW could go out and cut a ditch and help them so that they don't have to deal with this issue. It was, most of these, all 4 of these that are presented tonight are all subdivisions that were approved way back before we increased our regulations, and they got built in situations where they're next to a sinkhole or something like that, where they underestimate it's not in a flood zone, they underestimated the volume of water that's out in that area, and they have a recurring flooding issue.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to wrap around my mind is, should we make a bad financial decision for a bad decision that was made by somebody, whether that was the county planning department or the homeowner or whoever back then? I don't think it's got to make a bad decision to fix a bad decision. That's a lot of money.
Well, I'm familiar with the, you said Deerfield?
Yes, sir.
Passed, I mean, this was like in a bowl. The house should have never been approved to be built there in the first place. And then these property owners were kind of stuck. And you're looking at financial ruin for certain people if they lost that. And I see what Tima's doing, but it's kind of, the way I looked at that is also just a kind of a goodwill. Help this family get out of a house that should have never been built there in the first place. That was the Deerfield situation.
Well, and all that circles back around to really kind of a question I had is, do we feel like that there's potentially some liability on the part of the county for having approved these in the first place? I mean, is that some part of this obligation, I guess? Is it?
I personally don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that the structures that you're looking at are, I would assure you, are, if you try to file a lawsuit, it would be statute of limitations involved in which.
But today, if those came through,
right,
they wouldn't.
And from being on the
Right.
planning commission,
Right.
that we have certainly tightened our regulations up, and you see a lot of minimum pad elevations
Right.
for localized flooding, and that's those kind of situations that previously did not get looked at. And as an example, the one on Lydell is a subdivision that was approved in the late 50s. I mean, it's, if you pull the plat on that, it's lined with a road in it. There's no design on that subdivision. And we progressed through engineering to try to help not let these issues resurface. So that there are some lingering properties in the county that still, when it rains, they want to see what's happening at their house while they're at work because they're afraid it's going to flood.
Matt, what's the newest subdivision out there that one of these is in?
I'd say that the newest one is probably that one on Roanoke Drive. As far as the actual house being built, that one was built in '07, but the subdivision design was approved in the early to mid-'90s, something like that.
Well, my main concern is that we've got things in place that will prevent this in the future. You know, that's, these engineers are calculating rain and runoff and slope on the roofs and how many roofs in that area. There's a lot of studies we do and we don't do from been on planning before. But one other question, FEMA usually puts out flood maps.
Correct.
Were these properties on that flood map?
None of these properties are in a FEMA flood zone. These are all associated with localized flooding due to, 3 of them are due to, they were built around a sinkhole. One is due to a house, the one on Blue Ridge is more of a flash flood situation. When it rains a whole bunch, that water comes in real quick and that water gets up real fast and there's a pipe there and it is as big as we can put that pipe in. It's a 42-inch pipe. And it still has issues over there. And that's, it's kind of, to me, ironic. The one house that you're looking at that doesn't have any water on the property is the one that was on Channel 245 News last November, almost 1 year ago, with water up in the house. Because it's a different type of flooding issue there. It is, it's flash flood. When it rains real hard, water cannot get through the system quick enough, and there's a bowl there. Before it overtops the road, it gets in the house. So, that situation.
Is there any way to build these lots up and have a minimum pad elevation where we could turn around and resell them?
Once they're taken in, if a grant is approved and once they are taken in, FEMA...
Part of the deal is you don't...
Yeah, part of FEMA's deal is you're not going to build a structure back on this.
Okay.
And is the 370,000, is that based on 10 properties you said?
That is
And
10
only-
properties with our responsibilities, not what the federal or state matches it would be. That is what we would be responsible for.
That's based on 10 parcels?
Correct.
And only 4's?
Correct. So if you go to, if you flip over on that next page, I updated the cost of the 4 properties specifically that have reached out.
Which is 111,000?
Yes, sir.
Would that number change depending on what the appraisals come in at?
So part of the deal is we're estimating basically 3 years out what that future cost of that home would be.
Okay.
And we're hoping we have good estimates. And so it could be less. I know the previous buyouts that we have done, we've always come in under budget. So
Did you get that from the property assessor's office?
we
or
worked
did you-
with we worked with the property assessor's office to come up with that value.
Are these people that have reached out to the county for help, or is it just people that y'all have chosen?
So the flood mitigation assistant grant is ones that TEMA said, here's a list of people that we've had a significant amount of reoccurring insurance claims on. They should apply for this grant. The hazard grant mitigation program, especially because of the short turnaround, we were notified in early October that we had to get this rolling very quickly. Are properties that I've had experience with dealing through public works, which if you're not familiar, that my position is going out and looking at people who have flood issues.
Do you think we can help these 10 and not help everybody with a flood issue in this county?
So there are different levels of flooding, in my opinion. You have nuisance flooding, and then you have your property actually flooded. And the ones I try to keep in mind that I've dealt with are the ones who are actually experiencing structural damage when it floods. To answer your question, there's a lot of properties in this county and probably cannot help every single person in the county on the budget that PW currently operates on.
But other opportunities in future years may come.
Correct. This is a reoccurring grant that happens every year and is usually triggered typically is triggered after a state of emergency, as when we did our last buyouts, from what I understand. 2010 hit, state of emergency was declared, and FEMA came in and bought up these properties. And to be clear, the hazard grant mitigation program, that's competing against anybody in the state. The flood mitigation assistance program is competing nationwide against the same folks who experienced the floods in the Carolinas and the Gulf. So the application is going to have to be strong to get consideration.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
But basically, these properties here have been red flagged, I think, correct?
The one on the flooding mitigation assistant one is one that FEMA was aware of. The ones that I picked are the ones that I've been out to their house and after a flooding event.
So basically, we'd be liable for $111,570.
Yes, sir.
I'm as conservative as anybody in this room, but I think we have a moral obligation to alleviate the frustration and everything of the people involved with this. And like I said, it was approved through the road this past Monday. And like I said, I'm as conservative as anybody, and $111,570 for our part. That's not a whole lot in the scheme of things when we're looking at a $601 million budget for this year. So if you're looking for a motion, I will make that motion.
Mr. Johnson? So we do have a motion to approve this. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Gooch?
So the 370,000 number is not what we're looking at?
That is what I'm asking is to continue to pursue this grant opportunity. And at this point, I've not heard from the 10 properties that I reached out to. And I'd like to still pursue or leave the door open for all 10 property owners. The ones that I've actually heard from are 4. And like I said earlier, I received my letter today and I called you as soon as I got it.
So the 111 is a different, is in addition to the 370?
No.
Part of.
That is
He's saying up to. He wants to be able to,
up to 370.
if he hears from those other folks. Right now, he's only heard from folks that would cost us 111.
That's the 4 hours.
Yeah.
I still think if this was a great idea and it makes sense for the insurance purposes for the FEMA people to do that, so they don't keep paying claims. But if it was a great thing, they would pay for all of it on the land. There's a reason why they want us to put a little money into it on the land, so they don't have to pay for the maintenance and the insurance and the upkeep and liability on it. So,
Ms. Nolan, where would this money come, our part come from?
It'll probably either, I think we've used development tax before or reserves.
Mayor Ketchum, would you like to address this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a restriction, FEMA restriction, that would disallow the county once we, let's say the homeowner decided to sell, could the county jack the house up and move it to another location and then sell?
I believe once the grant is struck and they sell the property, how they have it written is the property, any structure on the property is to be demolished, not necessarily removed and shipped out, but demolished and hauled away. And I think that came up previously in people wanting to copper out and try to get money and recoup it, but how I think it is written is to be demolished and removed without recouping the cost there.
Can you get confirmation on that for us?
Yes, sir.
If this was to pass, that's something I'd like to know.
Well, and even if there's no cost to be recovered, I mean, if you could do doors and things like that that could go to Habitat for Humanity, I mean, that'd be a better use for some of that than just the landfill, for sure. Yeah.
I will not argue that point at all.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody speak to, when we did this before, that Larry is going, did y'all do burn one of the houses?
We were going to, but it had asbestos in it.
Oh, okay. For training.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? And since it's going to cost us some money, we're going to call the roll then.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Gooch?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
No.
Mr. Stevens?
no.
Mr. P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Chairman, could they check on that before the commission meeting next week? About,
Yes, we would like to have that for the commission meeting prior to. Yes, sir. So we can present that night. I don't think this will make a consent agenda by any means, so be prepared for lots of questions.
I understand. And we have, just FYI, we have posted legal or post notices in the Murfreesboro Post, and then we will continue to run the duration of the month. So it is available to the public to see what we're doing with this. Thank you for your consideration. Have a nice night.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have a general fund budget amendment and transfer for agriculture extension. Mr. Toad.
Here, like this week. Good evening, everyone. All right. I am looking to move funds from our, first one is move funds from our, I call it rent lines, our committed funds for ag and natural resources, to line 409 to purchase new carpet, ductwork, and a mow for engine for a mower and a new ice maker. They might have died, and we're trying to change. Not sure if you've been to our building where the bags pop, but one end is torn, so we're going to replace some of those with our ductwork on one of them. Can we do both of them? Go ahead.
Please. There's no objection.
On the next one, we're basically starting in January. We're going to move our part-time program assistant, which meet 4-H clubs, to our contractor line. We already have agents in our contractor line through the University of Tennessee or either Tennessee State. So we're just going to kind of streamline those. And for the remaining 6 months of the year, for those 4 PAs, it's that $29,145.
Okay, I think we looked at that last month, didn't we? Changing some of your employees to
You did.
actual contract.
You did MOU.
Okay.
This was in purchasing last night. Have you got your approval from your board and everything?
They meet on that, and the board votes it down. It won't be. I accepted 2 bids in continuance that the conservation board approved those. So we just go ahead and move the funds, go back into our rent line.
This is in your budget?
No, sir. The $88,000 in a committed fund line. It's a reserve line. I think we got it right at $480,000.
$479,000.
Right in that line.
Well, now, the 52,000, that's in your budget, isn't it? You said last night.
I don't have those. Oh, yeah. No. So I said I was gonna get it from the rent line.
Oh, okay.
It's in the contract. You know.
Okay.
We have a resolution. Maybe some new commissioners. We rent our facilities out to general public or whatever, and then all those funds we have reserved over time that goes to a rent line. I call it rent.
We call it a reserve.
Committed to ad line over time. So we build the facilities, and when we need funds to upgrade the building or facility, we pull funds out of that and to put in our budget to utilize for the year. And we like I said, we have right at $480,000 in that line.
So you're not asking for new money?
No new money.
That's what their question is.
No new money.
It's money set aside for this purpose.
No, sir. Oh, okay. No, there's no new money. No, sir.
I make a motion to approve this request.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Pearson.
Second.
Ms. Allen, a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? There being none, go ahead and call roll, please.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have an application for assistance to firefighter grants for fire rescue. Chief Farley.
I come here tonight to seek your approval for us to write a FEMA grant for $935,848. This will be to buy self-contained breathing apparatus, air bottles for all of our volunteer departments. They are obsolete. We wrote this grant 3 times before without success, but under further guidance from FEMA and how to reword the grant, we think we might have a better chance this time. $336,500 will be for radios. which will be upgraded to 7,800, where we can communicate with Murfreesboro Fire Department and Laverne Fire Department. And then $599,346 will be for the SCBA. Case in point, Monday night when the tornado hit, we had every department in the county was emptied out. We had a structure fire going on. After the tornado hit, it damaged over 40 structures, destroyed 6. And so we called in Laverne and Murfreesboro, 2 different engines, to help us assist in searching for people and also assessing the damage. So that will give us a better opportunity. Of course, Murfreesboro goes to 700 later this month. We won't be able to communicate with them. And with these radios, it would help us do that. Plus, if the county ever upgrades their radio system, then this will match the upgrade. The county's portion of this would be $85,076.
What's one scuba cost now?
They're about $6,500 per pack.
Talking about the breathing apparatus.
The last ones were bought for volunteers were in 1990 and 1999. And they're only bottles only good for 15 years, and these are obsolete. I mean, they're according to NFPA, you really shouldn't be using them, period. And once those bottles meet their maximum 15 years, you can't use them because somebody was to die or lose their life, and we can't be liable for it.
Right. Yeah, basically, there's time stamp, just like your propane tank or something that you buy, with life limitations on it.
And I'm also talking with the mayor. If we don't get this grant, then we'll have to budget in to buy them.
Well, Lisa, he's just asking to apply for the grant
Yeah,
right
just
now.
permission. If we do receive it, of course, we'll come back through the public safety and budget to get approval.
To accept.
To accept. Yeah, I'm just asking for permission to write it.
Now, the amount that you called off a second ago was $935,000.
For the radios and the SCBA is $935,848.
Yeah, well,
We need to correct the amount.
But in full disclosure, they could choose to give us the SCBA and not the radios, or the radios not the SCBA, or we may get both of it all together or nothing at all.
I just want the numbers in the resolution to match what you said, because this number is 900,000, so that's the only reason I asked.
935,848.
Okay, y'all heard his pitch there. What's the verdict? Do I hear a motion or?
Let me ask one more question.
Okay.
You said that the county's percentage would be 85,000 and some change, but this is 10%, so this could be up to 93,000.
It could be, but based on what we're figuring in the application, way out, that 85,000 was what they said our
Your
portion would be,
projected.
yeah.
So it'd be up to 10%, not necessarily
Yeah.
exactly 10%?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worried that one. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Allen? Motion. Mr. Johnson? Thank you. Are there any other discussion? There being none, we can do this just all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And our next thing is a general fund budget amendment for the judicial building renovation. And we have anybody here to cover that for us, Lisa?
I'll take it because this came from the PBA. This is in relation to the refurbishing the old building, and they would like to use Jerry Preston again as the owner's rep, and they're requesting funds to that project, and about $56,000 is the estimate.
Will you tell the rest of the group kind of, which I was asking questions about this before the meeting started. We tell them a little bit about what it is we get for that and how it works.
Mr. Preston is really what I consider our eyes, our boots on the ground. He's the one who is with the expertise. We used him, PBA, I say we because I feel like it's county and PBA, used him on the building of the Judicial Center. He was one who, he kept up with the money, I kept up with the money, he kept the contractor on task. You know, if there was dispute on who is supposed to have done what, in speaking with Brian, he was there to navigate whose responsibility the various issues were.
So for him to get this money, he spends so many hours doing X task, and then he
Right.
submits that to you, and it's basically a draw
No,
up
and
to this amount.
actually on how this goes, whenever we work with the PBA, when the project is assigned to the PBA, there's the agreement with the PBA and the county. When invoices are submitted, he reviews it, then he submits those to the county for the county mayor to review and chairman of the PBA. So we have our owner's rep reviewing invoices, our mayor, and the PBA person who's assigned to review. So a lot of eyes are looking at the invoices, but he is kind of our on-point eyes
He sends
on the
it to
project.
the PBA first, Mr. Chairman, then it comes to me. So I received that from Mr. Pickles.
Well, it comes to everybody at once, but we don't do anything until Mr. Pickheimer says it's okay. And then we feel like after that's okay, then.
It comes
we're
to
okay.
email to me with his name on it, so that's how it gets.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do we have any firm numbers on the cost of the renovation?
No, sir, we don't, not at this point. They had some numbers right the night of the property management committee. But our representative was getting ready to be out of town, he was going to Greece, and he had an emergency appendectomy. And so it's a good thing he didn't get on that plane because it happened that night. So he went into the hospital, and then he ended up getting an infection from that, which extended his stay in the hospital. And so Gresham Smith backed off of, we took it off the agenda that night, so they'll be back to us at the next property management committee.
Well,
I
so,
think it's going to be high.
so is this $2 million? Is that what we kind of anticipated to be?
No,
or-
no, it's 56,000. The
No,
request is
I'm talking about
56,000.
the amended.
No,
What is that?
that's, the 2 million is what we have set aside in our restricted fund balance for capital projects. That's what that is.
So that's not something for the judicial center?
No, no, that's the source of funds.
That's not necessarily for the judicial building. it's
That is for capital projects.
Okay.
And so the
Period.
amendment is a request to fund $56,000 for the owner's rep. The money's coming from the reserve for capital, or restricted for capital
It's
projects.
development tax that we've collected over the years that we haven't spent thus far at all.
Gotcha.
So we've just set it aside. It's just basically an accumulation of unspent development tax is what it is.
Do we have a limit of how much we're willing to spend to renovate that building before we decide to sell it?
I don't. That's a good question, Commissioner, because I don't think that anything was ever decided upon. I've talked to numerous people, what their regulation was from the last commission. I thought it was going to cost to renovate. It was anywhere from 3.2 to 11.2. I called Mayor Burgess Monday or last Friday and asked him, and he said immediately 4.7 was his recollection of what it was estimated to cost to renovate the old judicial building. But the preliminary numbers that I saw, and they're going to try to firm those up, that they'll be coming to the Property Management Committee this next month, next meeting, is around 7.2 million.
Should we spend the 56 before we know if we even want to renovate it or not?
I don't think we're spending, I think we're just kind of moving it to spend it if we have to, is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, he won't be able to draw it down if he's not meeting with us.
Yeah.
He charges us $120 or whatever it is per hour by meeting with us. There'll be a few more meetings before we get to that point to decide whether we're going to drop back in the pond or what direction we're going to go. We do have somebody that's interested in buying the old bank building that looked at it this past week. So we'll bring that up and discuss that at the Property Management Committee meeting also.
So can this go to property management and be decided at the same time? Well, I make a motion that we refer this to Property Management Committee at their next meeting.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll wait 2 weeks away.
So,
Is it property management?
28.
28.
Yeah.
He'll just be in the December cycle.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dodd?
Was there any urgency with this to do it now? No?
This basically is just setting money aside in the event you need to do it, correct? I mean, this is not obligated money at $120. This is just putting some money in the bank in case they need to do it. This is not spending this money right now,
It's not.
correct?
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
this,
I mean,
this,
but then
this
if
has
he's-
nothing to do with whatever the boondoggle may be with renovating the judicial building. Am I correct?
In my
This is just for
this is from my
capital project.
perspective, this is for your owner's representative to work on this renovation project. Right now, there's no money
But
set aside for this, and even though I believe he has worked on and tried to coordinate.
That was my
He's
question.
not.
Is there money owed was kind of my question. Is there a reason that there needs to be action sooner than it going through property management?
There was wasn't there an invoice in there?
I did not put an
There was
invoice
a-
with this.
some language and an estimate of how that money might be used.
They're not meeting in
Construction documents and
November?
so much. I would just like to, I'd just like to hear it at property. We need to hear this estimate for the buildings. I seconded this because it makes sense for me to hear it at property when we're discussing renovations and those kind of movements. And then get it back to the budget, hopefully.
In the December.
Yeah.
But
30
is
days.
property management meeting in December, in November?
28,
The
the
fourth.
28.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's nothing set in
I thought they
concrete.
sent out a notice
We'll
that
have any
week
kind
was
of concrete price or
28th is not
on the
Thanksgiving.
28th.
Says on the
Agreed.
site, no meeting. I don't know, I'm just saying on the website, it says no meeting, and I thought they'd set something
No,
out.
we-
They wouldn't have one in November, the next one would be
We set it
December
for the-
27th.
We set it for the 28th of
Yeah.
November.
It was interesting in talking with, because our representative was in the hospital and talking with Steve, who is the architect, our architect that we work with, how he came up with the numbers that they're going to firm up and bring back to us. He leaned on Bell Construction Company to help them estimate what it would cost to renovate that building, okay? All the while, he said with a caveat that Bell Construction Company is not interested in repurposing the building.
I stand corrected. The purchasing committee is going to be on the 28th and property management is on the 29th. That's the first mistake I made today.
Aren't we lucky?
Aren't we lucky? Aren't I lucky? I usually bat to zero on this mistake.
It's only one you like there. That's his third mistake. He really forgot the first two.
I call the question.
I call the question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to defer this to property management, which is now going to be on the 29th. So all in favor signify by voting yes or no.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we'll see this in the future, so if it comes back forward. I don't think we have anything else, do you, Lisa?
No, sir.
So I managed to fumble through a meeting with y'all. I appreciate y'all's indulgence with me. I don't see a problem in December with our meeting, so we don't need to look at any dates there, but there's probably some that will be affected other than budget. But that being said, I'm willing to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Well, we are adjourned.